Bill, thank you very much for that very kind introduction, and I only wish my mother were here. She would have enjoyed it and believed it. I'll be very brief, but I would like to just first of all say how deeply honored I am to accept this award, and I accept it really on behalf of my colleagues at GlaxoSmithKline. I just would say to all of you here, we at GlaxoSmithKline really value our partnership with ALEC. And I'd like to ask all of my GSK colleagues, most of whom are seated right here in front, to please stand. And they're led by one of our best leaders in the company, John Del Giorno. Please stand and let me thank you. Testament to John's leadership abilities, we just announced yesterday that John is now going to take on the expanded role of heading up our entire government relations group, both at the state and federal level. And I will say, both as a vice chairman and also as a significant shareholder, at least significant for me, I couldn't be more proud or more pleased, John. Well deserved. It's been my privilege as well as pleasure to, Bill, appear at a number of ALEC events, and I've had the pleasure, if you will, of following people like Phil Graham and, God rest his soul, Milton Friedman. And because of their prominence, C-SPAN would obviously cover those luncheons. And I was quickly reminded of how the sleeping patterns of a number of my friends must be way out of whack, because they would all call me to tell me they'd seen me on C-SPAN at 3:30 or 4 in the morning as they reran those programs. Let me just say to all of you, as you enjoy your lunch, I am so grateful for what ALEC stands for. And I want to thank each and every one of you who serve our country and in your state as elected officials. If there was ever a time in our country, in my opinion, that we need the values that ALEC represents to be advocated for and, frankly, to be stood up for, it's now. The values of free enterprise, the values of competition, the values of personal accountability related to personal freedoms, in my personal view, have never been more precious and, frankly, more at jeopardy. And I just want to say to all of you as ALEC members, you have my commitment, but more importantly, GlaxoSmithKline's commitment to increase our partnership with you. We should generate and really energize, Bill, the entire business community, no matter what business we're in, to support ALEC and your cause. Because the real beneficiary, ladies and gentlemen, will not be the businesses, but it'll be the patient, in this case, that we serve, and the constituent who is that same patient that you all serve. And I would just say, again, that I plan to leave here and go back. I'm on 7 other corporate boards, and I'm going to talk to each one of those companies about their support of ALEC, because it's in their best interest, but more importantly, it's in the best interest of our entire nation. And maybe in closing, the timely subject, obviously, today at the federal level is health care reform. And while I think there's probably broad consensus that we need to have some reform, and particularly improving access to health care, I would urge us all to really speak up for the patient. And what I hope we can maintain as we go forward is quality, choice, and competition. Because if we have those 3 principles, we'll all be better served. And you're hearing from someone who spent his whole career in the pharmaceutical industry. And I would be the first to tell you that as someone who's spent his career in the industry, that the best medicine, ladies and gentlemen, is no medicine. And by that, we should stand up first and foremost for prevention. Sadly, in America, we don't start spending until we get sick, rather than investing to keep ourselves well. And we want to make sure that we, as, if you will, advocates for patients, emphasize the importance of prevention. And if we invest more in keeping people well, we preserve more of an ability to continue to invest in innovation, which leads to the discoveries that have allowed us to live longer and better quality lives. And I'd finally like to just close with a personal reminder to me that I'd share with you about why it's so important that we at ALEC, and I say we, all of us in this room and beyond who believe in these principles of free enterprise, competition, personal accountability, stand up and be more aggressive in speaking out. I'm at the point in my life where I suspect many of you are, I'm a grandfather. And I like my grandchildren better than my children. And by the way, my grandchildren like me better than my children. It's because we share a common enemy, it's their parents. But recently, my oldest, I have 3 grandchildren, 2 grandsons and a granddaughter. My oldest grandson, who's 10 years old, and frankly attends a private school in Durham, North Carolina, where I live. And he reads to me a lot, and I'm obviously incredibly fond of him and very proud of him. And one day he came home and he was reading to me, and he told me that he had told the teacher had asked that day what each student hoped to be when they grew up. And he looked at me, and of course he calls me Papa. He says, Papa, I told him I wanted to be a businessman like you. And of course I was obviously touched. And he said, but Papa, my teacher told me I shouldn't be a businessman because businessmen are not honest. Well, the next day I went to his school. And I wasn't confrontational, but I asked the principal if I could meet with the teacher. And to the teacher's credit, I met with him. And I said, my grandson shared with me your comment, which he acknowledged. And I said, you know, I would never say that all teachers are lazy, when in fact some are. Likewise, there are some business people, sadly, and it's a few, who give us all a bad reputation. But it is wrong for you to share your opinion in that way with your students. And the reason I share that with you is because to me it was a reminder of the absolute importance of us, you, myself, all of us who believe in this country and what's made us great, to start standing up and start being an advocate for our values. I don't have to tell you that in this free enterprise political environment, our opponents are out there every day with another agenda, and that's their right. But if we don't exercise our right, and it begins, and I'm saying this not for applause, with your friends in the business community supporting you and really supporting you, we're going to lose. And the real loser again will be my grandchildren. And I don't want that to happen. And I'm sure you don't. I want to say again how honored I am to accept this award and how committed we at GlaxoSmithKline are to you at ALEC. We thank you for what you stand for. Thank you very much.